Jocko and Leif, how do you know if you terminated too early? I wanted to remove the toxicity before it damaged the team. When do you know it's time to fire someone? So we'll get into a little change in pace here, going from the darkness of the Islamic State into something a lot more positive, which is people running businesses. And
it's good you clarified that, because terminated has a different context than our previous topic.
Check. So this is a good question, and it's something we hear a lot, and we got a ton of questions when I put this out. So when do you know it's time to fire somebody?
We get this question all the time, as you just said, and this was always the most difficult thing. It is incredibly difficult, even for, people who feel like they're super, super tough leaders or strong leaders in the SEAL teams who've been through all our training and have proven themselves on the battlefield. It's hard to fire people. It's always difficult to fire people. It's hard to have those tough conversations with folks. And so we talk about this, that the right time to fire somebody is when you don't feel bad about it. And what I mean by that, I don't mean just because you're cold-blooded, but that you actually you actually have taken every step to mentor and train and provide resources and help that person achieve the performance that you need them to achieve in order to accomplish the mission. And you've given them every chance to succeed. And once you should feel absolutely confident that you have exhausted all options, and then you're not going to feel bad about it, because you've taken so much time and effort, and they're not even going to be upset about it. Not that they may necessarily love you or thank you for firing them, but so often you see people that are literally relieved. When we work with companies and we see this happen, we see people that are relieved because they're in a position where they're overwhelmed. There's massive pressure on them, and they knew it was beyond their capability, and they just didn't want to say, I can't do this. And so when they got either fired or just transitioned to a different role, they were relieved, and they said thank you. And that was really eating at me, that I didn't feel capable, and I knew I was letting the team down. And that's almost always the case. Every once in a while you get the tortured genius who's just can't take direction or won't listen, who's never going to see that eye to eye, but that's okay. Yeah. It's okay.
Yeah, the only other thing I'd say is laying out the real crystal clear expectations of where you need to be. Hey, if this is where you need to be, and if you don't get there, this is what's going to happen. And that's why you said it shouldn't be a surprise. It should be, hey, I knew exactly what the expectations were. I knew exactly what was required of me, and I knew exactly what was going to happen if I didn't meet those expectations or requirements. So that's how you know. And the only other thing is, we sometimes, and it's totally normal, we build a relationship with our people. And so sometimes that relationship gets strong to the point where you might value that relationship more than you value the performance of the team. And that is not a good situation, because you have to look out for the whole team. And if I say, oh, this guy's not doing his job, but he's my bro, so I'm going to keep him on, I'm letting down the whole team. So that's just another little element that you have to pay attention to. And if you truly care about the person, mentor them, coach them, put them into a position where they can succeed. Sometimes people aren't good at something, and you got to move them to a spot where they can. You can take advantage of their strengths instead of putting them in a spot where their weaknesses are going to be totally exposed. That's how you take care of someone. So that's what you got to do before you fire somebody.
One thing, too, that I learned from you in the Navy during our time was, when you have those tough conversations, you got to write it down. You have to write it down. And that's something that I thought was very powerful, because so often, even in the SEAL teams, you'd see leaders who would say, well, this leader screwed up, this platoon commander or this chief's got an issue, and he's causing he's dangerous, or he's making bad decisions, or he's unprofessional, or he's not getting his unit where they need to be, and we need to call him in and tighten him up. And you'd have that conversation behind closed doors when the person isn't present, and you're like, right on, let's call them in, let's tighten them up. You come in, they sit down, and here you are face to face with that person, and you just had that closed door conversation about how terrible they were and how they really needed, we're gonna square them away. And now, face to face, the conversation goes like this. Well, you're doing a pretty good job. You're doing a pretty good job overall. There's a couple things we need to work on here or there, but maybe not here. And I think that's that doesn't help anybody. That's the false cheerleading is a disaster. And it's something that we talk about all the time in our business. I'm sure you've mentioned that on the podcast, many times before. But when you write it down, you have it in front of you. So you have to have that tough conversation, and you give them a copy so they have it with them as well. And then they can take that and understand where they need to be and when they need to be there. And that forces you to have those tough conversations. It's absolutely a game changer. And makes you address that. And again, the false cheerleading is a disaster. People, then when you have to fire someone and they're like, wait, you just said I was doing a good job. So obviously you failed as a leader.
And another good thing you can do to soften the blow of this stuff when you're delivering the heavy news is you're saying, listen, I wrote this down. I'm putting this in front of you. Why am I doing that? Because I think you can do it. I want you to do it. I'm investing in you. This is not my way to make you feel bad. This is my way to make you get better. Mm-hmm. I want you to do better. So here's what you got to do for me. Here it is in plain English. Do you understand this bullet point? Do you understand this bullet point? Do you understand this bullet point? That's the best possible thing you can do. And you got to make them understand that. Because otherwise they'll walk out of the room saying, oh, he's picking on me. He doesn't like me. No. The opposite is true. If I didn't like you, I would just fire you. I want you to perform. I'm mentoring you. I'm coaching you because I want you to do better. I'm giving you this list so you know exactly what you have to do to win. So don't take it the wrong way, my brother. Just get in the game and get this stuff done.
Hey, do you think, because I remember you saying this.
Good evening, Echo.
Good evening. I remember you saying this to Jade. Remember, you were like, when you don't feel bad. I don't know if you put in those exact words,
right.
But that's basically the message, exactly what Leif said. When you don't feel bad about it, you guys both know.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
Do you think that there's a difference between like the SEAL teams, for example, because you can't just, well, I'm assuming you can't just replace the guy. So it's like it's worth it to invest as much as you possibly can.
The civilian world and the SEAL teams, I thought this would be different. They're not different. They're the same. So in the civilian world, every company we go work with, doesn't matter what the company is, there's no immediate replacement for somebody that knows a skill set for a software engineer. Is there a great guy waiting to come in the door? No. Is there a great welder waiting to come in the door? No. Is there just no matter what these things are, there's not a perfect replacement coming for them. It's the same thing in the SEAL teams. You don't have a ready replacement ready to come in. Right. So, of course, you've got a person. You've gone through the agony of finding them. You've gone through the agony of recruiting them. You've gone through the agony of bringing them on board, issuing them their gear, getting them their computer, letting them understand the culture of the company. You've already invested so much. You don't want to just fire the person. You want them to work out. And so that's why it's important on either military and civilian. You've made those investments. The best outcome is to have them succeed. That's always the best outcome. And so that's why you've got to be a great mentor, a great coach, a great leader. And I've talked about this before. I'm not going to go into it right now, but some people are allergic to the words mentor, and some people are allergic to the word coach. You get someone with an ego problem, and I go, hey, Leif, welcome to the platoon. I'm going to go ahead and mentor you. You know what I mean?
I don't need you to mentor me.
So there's a lot of people that they think, that offends them. Yeah. Because that implies, I've said this before, that implies that I know more than you do and you know less than me. Yeah. And I'm the big guy that's going to help you, little guy. Yeah. So sometimes that direct kind of coaching is not the right answer. But, clearly when you're getting to a point where somebody's getting fired, you need to do some direct coaching. Yeah. So that's why we're getting it done correctly.
And one more point on that, which is a great question, Echo, but that's the easiest, I think, fallback. And we see that with a lot of leaders. We saw it in the military, and we see it throughout companies and organizations that we work with now. Oftentimes it's people that, well, this person isn't good enough, I need to fire them and get someone else. And almost most of the time that's not the case. Most of the time they just need to be led. They need to be led. They need to have the mission better explained to them. They need to have, the training. They need to have better resources. They need to have mentorship, just as Jocko was talking about. And so that's an easy fallback, but it's an excuse, and it's the opposite of extreme ownership, and really only the case of that tortured genius, right? That we wrote about, the person that just cannot take any direction, no matter how valid or positive and needed. They can't take any criticism. They won't accept any responsibility. They have it all figured out. The world just can't see the genius in what they do. Right. That's kind of how they look at things. That's the only time that you really have to fire those folks generally.
Yeah, and the thing you didn't say, you hit like 4 points. One of the best places to start if someone's not doing what they're supposed to be doing is explain to them why they're doing it. This is why I want you to do this, because then they can absorb it. They understand what the deep mission is. They understand kind of the commander's intent. So whenever someone's not doing this, and I you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and break out a story right now.
Could do it.
So I got a 7-year-old daughter. Mm-hmm. She can't ride her bike yet. Mm-hmm. Right? That's not good. You should be riding a bike at 4, right? In my family, it's 4. So she can't ride a bike yet.
Why not 2?
So, and it's become a thing. It's become an issue, right? So the other day, and we're going on a big camping trip, and it's going to be necessity to be able to ride the bike. So the other day, I started telling her, okay, we got to go work on your bike riding. So I'm like, come, get your shoes on, get ready to ride. And she immediately goes defensive. I don't want to ride a bike. I can't ride a bike. I'm not good at riding. And I started getting right, no, listen, get your shoes on. I went that route like an idiot. And luckily I didn't go too far down that road. And I just stopped myself after 2 direct orders with no explanation of why. And I said, hey, sweetie, we're going to go work on your bike ride. Let me tell you why. Because when we go camping, almost everywhere we're going to be going is going to be on the bike, especially when it's time to bike ride to go get ice cream. We're going to have to ride bikes to get ice cream. And so all I want to make sure is that you're able to come with us when we go to get ice cream.
Yep.
I mean, I don't want to have to bring it back for you. I want you to come with us. Yep. And you could see, I just completely changed attack. And she said, okay, let me get my shoes on. And literally, that's an example with a 7-year-old, right? And first of all, the first note there is that I, Mr. Big Leadership Expert, completely went down the wrong road. And was like, listen to me because I'm the father and I know. You do what I tell you. It's the wrong approach 100% of the time, even with a 7-year-old. And as soon as I went back and said, hey, here's why I want you. And, I told her a bunch of other things. It's really good. This is how we're going to get around. This is how you can get around the beach. All these things. And changed her attitude. It literally changed her attitude in a minute. I wish I would have videotaped the whole thing because we could have posted it.
Yep. Yeah, that would have been a good little case study.
Yeah.
Right. Flanked her with the ice cream money. Would you say back to the hiring and people, you don't have just someone waiting in the wings to get hired to fill that position, remember? That kind of is the case, most of the time, where if you fire someone, it's like, oh, we'll just replace them.
Yeah.
Right. All that work and stuff, you got to rehire somebody, Ben, you're wasting time and resources to do that. Absolutely. When you could just be investing more in that kind.
You always want your team to succeed.
Yeah.
And sometimes people take that too far. You get someone that just wants the team to succeed, why they're not going to fire somebody. So there's always a balance. There's always a dichotomy there. But yes, that is true.
So do you make the exception if, let's say, hey, I hired this, I don't know.
You weigh it. You weigh the pros
and
cons.
So if you do have a guy kind of waiting in the wings, I don't know, my neighbor,
of course.
Hey, he's waiting in the wings, so you're going to invest less in this guy because we got this guy ready to go.
Well, no, you won't invest less. You're not going to invest anything. If you've got someone that's going to come in and do the job and this person can't make it happen and has failed,
currently,
get rid of them.
Yeah.
Check.
There you go.